to the rationalinvestor.com's daily brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's daily brief. This is our weekend show. I suppose I should be looking at the camera. Hey, how's it going? I don't even know if there's anybody even watching. This is a holiday. I actually gave myself permission to sleep in today. So most of the markets are closed, but I did see that there was some inflation data that came out, so maybe we can review that. And if I understand correctly, Mr. Powell is speaking right now. So I suppose we could probably look at any sort of reverberations that he's having in the market. Interesting, the headlines here. US PCE prices rise less than expected. So that's obviously going to make the Feds a little bit happier about their fight on inflation. And the headline here, Chair Powell notes inflation is in line with expectations. So as the headline says here, I mean, you can read it as good as I can. We could probably pop on over here. I always like to look at least the 2-star impact numbers. Anyway, there's our core number, came in 0.3, like market was looking for 0.3. So interesting how somebody has been told in the sort of talking heads universe to spin this in the most positive manner possible. I suppose PCE price index there, 0.3, market was looking for 0.4, so maybe that's how they're spinning it. The price index itself, though, came in at 2.5%, even though market was looking for 2.4. So I don't know whether you can interpret that well. It is interesting. Retail inventory is ticking up. Usually when that happens, that's a sign that consumer demand is relatively weak. Wholesale so excuse me. Usually this time of year, things like the gasoline industry, they're building up their inventories for the summer driving season. But as you can see, I think on balance, I think we had consumer sentiment numbers that came in, I think, relatively positive yesterday. I don't think it was a disaster. I think it was yesterday. I think that was yesterday. Thursday. Is it consumer sentiment? I seem to remember. Yeah, there we are. So still pretty weak, 79.4. I think it's a reading above like 90 is like expansionary bullish. I don't know. I might be mistaken on that. So this would probably be a comment on the University of Michigan. Also, too, Chris was telling me that our one of our favorite talking heads on YouTube, that RJ Speaks guy, was going on about the supply chain may potentially be affected with the bridge being wiped out there in, I think it was Maryland or something like that the other day. Where's our news? Of course, plenty of talk in the media about it. Let's see. In fact, I think they were talking about, like, sort of in the media now, they're talking about sort of the people who lost their lives in the event. Excuse me. So you can see the news headlines here today. Fed's key inflation gauge coming in basically at expectations. There's the talk, I suppose NPR, they kind of do a little bit of sort of Bart's people sort of side of the news. Anyway, Baltimore bridge worker help family communities in Honduras. Actually, I think we saw a lot of that when we were down in El Salvador. A lot of people, like when we were on the plane, there were tons of people that were sort of commuting back and forth between LA. So I think that's pretty typical, popular. I'm not quite sure what the term is. Anyway. Interesting. Looks like there was a company that was trying to list in China, and they just said, screw it. Not enough investor interest. And I kind of noticed I'm hearing a lot of talk that basically the internal economy within China is just imploding on itself. There's no more credit. And I think everything there was just bought on credit. Should be interesting to see that the Boeing person who mysteriously suicided themselves, their family's going to start speaking up a little bit here. We should probably hear a little bit more talk out of that. I would imagine that there's a lot behind that story. And of course, your friend and mine, I think I even tweeted out a couple of notes about it. SBF got 25 years. And of course, all the crypto OGs are kind of like, this clown gets 25 years, and yet Albrecht is given 2 life sentences. I mean, there's probably not much that I can add to the conversation, but it is interesting to see the difference in the judicial system. If I'm not mistaken, though, I think Albrecht, there was stuff about him like ordering like contracts out on people's lives and stuff like that. That's a big no-no. Not allowed to do that. Anyway. It is interesting. I'm seeing a lot of rhetoric, thing like France is perking up and they want to get start sending troops to Ukraine. Now Poland here is starting to ramp things up. I would not be surprised if this actually turns in a full blown shoot 'em up with Europe and Russia. It really wouldn't surprise me. You find it interesting. Of course, they're not allowed to all these global warming people. They're not allowed to call it global warming. Now they have to call it climate change. Oh, why? Because there's like snowstorms in like Eastern Canada right now, and it's supposed to be. Isn't it supposed to be spring? Isn't spring supposed to start early now because of global warming? Just goes to show it's a load of horse shit. And I remember, for whatever it's worth, I remember in the 1970s, one year in particular, our March break, it was so hot we were running around in shorts and t-shirts in Toronto in the 1970s. So yeah, well. Yeah, that's basically the news that I saw, happening here today. I mean, as I said, it's supposed to be Good Friday. Actually, most of the markets are closed. Wouldn't be surprised. I don't think the futures are open. Obviously, our crypto markets are cryptoing away. Yeah, I don't even have any of my future screens open. Isn't that interesting? But I guess we can go over here. Where's the best place? Yeah. I don't think the futures. Like I said, I basically took the day off. My apologies, everyone, if you were expecting a over-the-top report. Yeah, it doesn't even look like these things are trading. 13:57. That would be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. March 28th, and today is 29th. So yeah, futures are not trading. Suppose just an overview of the broader market. Fascinating to see the gold just churning its way higher here. And I suppose all the silver bulls are finally being vindicated here. Silver's just up and down like a horse drawers. Hearing a lot of people talking about how silver is going to be starting to be used as currency again. So I do find that interesting. I guess gold becomes the store of value and silver becomes the actual currency people use on a day-to-day basis. Did also notice too, crude oil extremely strong. And I've been talking to you guys recently about how energy, of course, is a major leading inflationary component. And as long as the oil market continues to point higher, this inflation problem is not going to go away anytime soon. Of course, all this, and thank heavens that this whole woke nonsense is sort of finally playing itself out. But a big part of this, and like the political situation in my country, these people just sort of con themselves into believing that we were no longer ever going to be need oil again, and I think that that's not it's not realistic. We're still very, very dependent on crude, and even more so in natural gas, especially with our hydroelectric systems. So just looking at this spot crude chart, just get an idea where the heck they want to take this thing. This really, really wide bottom. I remember when it came in through the winter. And what I'm hearing now is that Ukraine is just basically going free reign against all the Russian oil depots and oil refineries and stuff. And so I get the impression that that's one of the major reasons why oil is being bid up here is Ukraine has made it a goal to basically put the Russians out of the oil business, which frankly speaking, I mean, geez, the amount of poor Ukrainians that are being murdered on a daily basis. That's off to the Ukrainians. Put those fucking Russians out of business. It's disgusting what's going on over there. So anyway, point of the matter here, initial 2.618s off of this internal W. I think that looks valid. I mean, we could probably, there's so many W's down here. You could draw a few of them. There's that one there. So interesting how, look how 2.618 was respected. So I have a feeling that that W right there, down, up, down, breakout, was probably a pretty big objective. I think that we got to go after this one. And keep in mind the seasonality trade goes, right. You buy your unlit at the middle of May, or excuse me, the middle of February, sell at the middle of May. You made money 9 out of the past 10 years. We're only at the very end of March, so we still have the whole month of April. And technically, the seasonal trade doesn't really wind up until the May 2-4 holiday weekend, which is usually that last weekend in May. So maybe we'll put it somewhere right on there. So this thing still has a lot of room for that seasonal trade to play out. Yeah, there's really not a hell of a lot more I can add. We could probably take a look at the unleaded gasoline. This is the seasonal proxy. And wow, what a trade there, eh? Buy your unleaded middle of February. That's even like in this area. But holy free holies. If there ever was a sales pitch to respect W's in the marketplace, man, that's it. Interesting how we sort of like just jumped up to this 2.618, consolidated, didn't really give anything back, started to accept higher. So my hunch is we probably got to go up to this 4669 all the way up top here. And considering that I don't really see news that the U.S. consumer is turtling, I think that people are relatively strapped for cash. But at the same time too, I'm hearing that people are feeling the wealth effect of the stock market going up, and things like their home values going up. So if anybody's locked in on a long-term mortgage, they're just loving life right now. And I suppose they can always borrow more against that if the home equity values keep going up. Stuart was showing us the other day that in Europe, like the housing prices are just continuing to grind higher in his country. And I would, I think on balance, the same thing's happening in the States. Obviously, in China, this is, I think, more a monetary issue, and the inflation's just absolutely out of control. And he's actually going to go and add another huge tax to our lives on Monday, and the central bank has even said this new tax is going to be rather inflationary. So, higher prices across the board for everything in Canada. So if you're long, I suppose that's great. The irony of it all, though, for this Chinese market is if you actually look at something like the stock indexes for Canada. This is a pretty popular one. It's the sort of biggest 60 stocks in Canada. Pretty nice rally since last November. And I think the whole world equity market has moved up. But you can see since 2022, this market really hasn't done a hell of a lot. And unfortunately, holy moly, look at the holes in the charts here. So at some point, well, we'll have to come back down, fill in all these gaps. Who knows when? That might be a year or two from now. I always like to keep an eye on the most heavily shorted Canadian. Well, actually, I think it's still the most heavily shorted bank stock in the world. This TD Bank, and you can see it's just sort of floundering here. It's not really overly bullish, not really overly bearish. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. Chris is telling me that we've done 15 minutes. I just don't know whether I've given you much value here today. And of course, it is a holiday, so I think the general summary is it is a holiday weekend. Obviously these holiday weekend periods are a little bit sketchy in price action. Closed, not a big surprise. Yield crypto, I suppose we'll finish off on that note. Interesting disconnect here. I don't know whether Litecoin has fundamental drivers unto itself, but you can see Bitcoin and Ethereum seem to be marching to the same drum beat here this morning. Litecoin is having a pretty nice rally. It's interesting how we did talk about Litecoin here recently, and how I don't know whether Bitcoin through its halving has to do a similar type of price pattern. It wouldn't surprise me, but of course, none of you in the public want to hear this. But here was Litecoin's halving event. I do think that Bitcoin is going through its sort of peak prior to the halving event. And then following the halving event, there should be a fairly precipitous dump. Because of Fink's sort of a manipulation of this market of late, I don't think that the dump is going to be as dramatic as the Litecoin one was. But what a beautiful testament. I still think that, this is the market state, and probably this image is probably the best for you. I put out a tweet. In fact, actually, we did this on the Quinergy show. And it was kind of fun doing it on their platform. We color coded everything and stuff. I mean, you've heard me talk about this recently, so hopefully it's not anything new. Yellow are our cycle peaks. Blue is the halving events. This was a halving, this was a halving, this was a halving. Green is your investing window. Back the truck up. Get your skirt together. Right, all that kind of talk. Yellow cycle peak. Get your skirt together. Beautiful. Halving event. Yellow cycle peak. Get your skirt together. I mean, it's a cliche how cliche this is. I'm wondering, I guess to a certain degree, you can see how this was a consolidation through the halving, and then that set up that beautiful launch pad. I'm not quite sure how to interpret this. I do think that, anytime a market moves one direction too far, too fast, yeah, you definitely need some time to pull back. And as I've sort of pointed out, I think I think it was this one. If we follow that 15-16 cycle, and kind of like that Litecoin image, right? You have your peak ahead of the halving event, then some sort of dump because the ETFs, and I think that they are going to try, and I think that they are succeeding in taking the volatility out of Bitcoin price. So this was a fairly big drop in 15-16. This was fairly muted. But nonetheless, if we sort of overlay that, oh, what a big surprise, dead cat bounce following the initial drop, then a consolidation, and then a final dump following the halving event, something along those lines. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. So that would sort of imply that we're right in here on that sort of pre-halving 2015-16 cycle comparison. I think we actually started a bit early because this was the date. Actually, this would be our ultimate peak for Bitcoin if we followed the 15-16 cycle appropriately. So it's a little bit ahead of the schedule. And really, that doesn't surprise me because you had so many of guys like me going, well, about a month ahead of the event, we should probably get a peak. So what do? They put the peak in a couple weeks ahead of that because that Beamish guy thinks he's so damn smart and he can call the market, blah, blah, blah. I think if anything, when it comes to Bitcoin, if you're looking for timing signals, we got an interesting battle going on here. I don't know. You ever heard of Beamish talking about trade location? That's about as trade location gets. Did we have any signs of indicators that maybe things were getting a little bit heavy? Be curious to see whether our RSI study ever got firm. Well, we did put in a W, which stops the bear slide. And of course, it was following the third M, and these are the noobs all going short. So if anything, that makes perfect sense. But we got to get another W here to actually get a buy signal. Right now, it's just sort of everything is neutral. And I think you can make the argument, right? This is everything is neutral, but we're in neutral in a really dangerous place. And of course, if we look at things like overbought, oversold indicators, are our indicators oversold or are they overbought? That will come if we have an up day less than this bar right here. The bears, same thing. Don't even really see a top in the bears just yet. So the bulls could potentially fall asleep. We're still waiting on the bears. I guess maybe no. You know what? This is 5,000. That's 5,000. That's actually slightly lower than that high. So actually, no, I think I'm going to say, the bulls have kind of fallen asleep here. It's incumbent now, if this is a bear, for the bears to wake up and you see a big red candle on huge volume. And if we break out through the top here, then the bears are in full control. And you can see the indicator. This is pretty simple. You ever see the market smiling at you? You know what to think, right? So that if we got that huge red candle, puke out central, that would imply that the bears have officially woken up and taken over. And of course, that would drive the indicator down through that. And there you have your big M. So I don't know. And given that it is the holiday weekend, I would imagine most of the professionals are just away now. They're just not really paying that much attention. What I would say is I do find it interesting from a price action perspective that all this battle is happening right in a very typical short trade window. And I'll just say, and this is what I've been telling the community, that if we do get a trade below this low from yesterday, which was 68,863, if you start seeing the market printing and even building bearish structure below this level, and really you can even draw a nice little trend line. And on the trend line break, something like that, if you actually get that bearish structure below, then that becomes a massive sell signal. We're not quite there yet, but I wouldn't fault any sharpshooter traders for coming in if this fractal does fire and start taking your short shots here. Because, as we had pointed out with the Litecoin happening event, the price can come off substantially here. As I had said, I don't think we see a full-blown reload zone retrace like Litecoin has done here. And interestingly enough, once we get through this correction, whatever it has to be here, and just get this cleaned up and we can get ready for the next leg here, I just think that the market's just gone too far too fast here. And we're just overdue for some sort of just cleanup. Even if it's just coming back to Collins pump chaser zone and just going sideways and setting up a bullish bot continuation, which would be perfectly natural, perfectly fine. I've often said that this looks like the 15-16 cycle. And so as a result, this is exactly what this correction could look like. It could be very violent, very quick, and be over before we even turn our heads. And then we're right back into the bull. And we'll do this in the after party. But just going through all of the Schult coins, if you will. I mean, I'll tell you, this is one hell of a rip-roaring bull market. Julian, bless his heart, has stepped up and tried to help me get my head wrapped around this little old lady portfolio and the reporting of the positions. I've done an absolute train wreck of a job of this, and I take full responsibility. I'm horrible with these damn computers, and I can't seem to be getting any better. But Julian stepped up yesterday and said, "Okay, let's try and just get our head wrapped around this." And I gotta say, we're not doing too badly here. I mean, the whole point of this is you're trying to make money from trading. We have names like this Frax, who's already given us sell highs on doubles. In fact, we could probably even I put the price that we got this in, but all these other ones, the fact that we bought this name and it did double, it's just Brian was too stupid to be able to get the damn tokens off the ledger thing and sold in time. We've got a number of names that are actually sitting on doubles right now, and I've asked the team, how the hell are we going to do this? Like, we got this one that's basically sitting at double, this one that's sitting at double. I think there's one more in here. I missed another double on this on Cripple. I guess no, this should be Stellar Lumens, beg your pardon. But hey, we got a bunch of, we're doing the right thing. I mean, hopefully I'm being the demonstrator of best practices, although I did touch my face up high. I mean, I suppose the way that I'm doing this, I don't believe subconsciously I'm doing that good of a job, but I'm just trying my best at this. But, sell half on a double. This was a sell half on a double. Actually, I think that was even more. And they're pretty charts too. So, is this the makings of a bear market? I don't think so. I mean, does that look like that's ending its move? I think that looks like it's just getting started. So, and of course, lots of people are super uber bullish about LTO. And I even hear the news, like, for instance, and actually, I think even, if I'm not mistaken, I think Josh even retweeted one of my doubles, this Ocean. Yeah, right here, Josh retweeted it. I mean, this is a pretty trade. Don't get me wrong. Great profits. But the scuttlebutt I'm hearing is that this entity and like two other entities are going to merge to create like a $7.5 billion juggernaut in the AI space for crypto. So I don't really want to be in a big hurry of getting rid of the rest of these free coins. I should probably just leave them alone and come back a year or two from now and just see what the hell's happened. So this is just not, thank you, Cotter. This is not the environment that you're like, you know what, sell everything, run for the hills. We are way overbought, and the public is, of course, crazy orgy bullish. And you must own crypto. When you get to the stage where the public is actually saying things like you're an idiot not to be invested in crypto, that's the danger. And I don't really hear a lot of that right now. So I think the summary for today's video, and I hope you got some value out of all this, is things are still moving up. I don't think this is a bear by a long shot. Pullbacks, in my opinions, are buying opportunities. I think what we'll do in the after party today is we'll just continue. We just, generally speaking, recently on any free time that I've had on the shows, I've just been going through all these lists saying this is exactly where I'd buy this one, this is where I'd buy this one, this is where I'd buy this one. And when they come back down into reload zones, I'll do exactly that. I'll just reload. I mean, you saw how many sell halves on doubles I've gotten. And this is also, this is probably also a great sales pitch to finish off the video on. This is actually what you see here is a very typical sort of performance from a guy like me, where I've got my dogs. This EOS has done absolutely nothing since I bought it. If anything, I'm kind of happy that we're actually up a little bit, but it's done basically nothing. This VGX bought it, and it's basically done nothing. Actually, that's a bit high for the average purchase price. I think we're a bit along from a bit lower than that. But nonetheless, done basically nothing. Ubic. Oh, God. Facepalm. Oh, these guys. Actually, from what I understand in their Discord channel, they're actually going to move. They're going to transition from POW to POS. So I think they were POS the whole damn time, though. And if anything, this is a really good example. I took a chance with these guys, put probably a little too much money into this thing relative to everybody else. Don't. So broke Brian's second rule of investing. But if anything, if they're going to go to POS, I'll just stake the coins and just see what the hell these guys do. But if anything, great analogy. You're never going to be right 100% of the time. It's just not going to happen. And I fully expect to be wrong a good 30% of the time or so. But look at all of these shots. Now, obviously, risk management, it kind of broke the rules on this one. But I mean, do you think that I've gotten a few doubles off here to justify having a few dogs on the books? I mean, that's a lot of doubles. And this actually isn't even the complete list. And there were actually a couple other doubles that I reported that we didn't report here. And then I also, of course, had my disasters, actually trades that I thought I put on, but it turns out we never did. So, I don't think they were lost coins. I think Stewart did end up actually blowing them out. Then I've actually got this one funny situation where I think we bought this on KuCoin and we can't get back on KuCoin. So that's kind of the same thing as the Binance situation. But on balance, it's looking like about 30, 40%, somewhere in that area, dogs. And then 60, 70% winners. And as a result, you put it all together at the end of the day, actually, this portfolio is doing relatively well. I started with 10 G's, now sitting about 23,000 bucks. So it's just the way I do at work. Slow and steady wins the race. So on that note, we'll go over and we'll talk a little Shultcoin action. And interesting to see, Litecoin is bucking the overall trend. And I think that as long as you are in that sort of space of we're not chasing overvalued assets. I mean, look at that. Are you trying to tell me that this thing is at the top end of its range and it's done? I would actually say that was one hell of a reload opportunity. And this thing's probably going all the way back up top here. And actually, I have heard a lot of people in, very similar kind of conversation. This good old B cash or B trash or whatever the hell it was called. I suppose we're not allowed to call it that anymore. But anyway, that was so funny. If you've been in crypto a while, you remember B trash. But here, just good example. If I understand this guy's going for it here. And, you should look at this chart and go, I could see exactly where that Beamish guy wants to be long. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's so straightforward. And up and away. Does that look like a bear market? That doesn't look like a bear market. It looks like it's just getting going. So, all right. So we'll head on over to the after party here now. We'll just sort of go through all my list. And if there's any one that you'd like to look at, we can, do a little bit more study of this B trash if you want. Ironically enough, there isn't really much else to say, but we could probably talk levels and stuff if you wanted to. Anyway, I think we'll spend the time there. It is 9:36, so we did give you a good half hour there. Hope you got some value out of that. Just be careful around yield Bitcoin. Coming up, I mean, this, if anything, could be a really good lesson for everybody on fundamental drivers and how markets act through fundamental windows. Who knows what the hell this thing's going to do. But at the same time, too, I cannot justify anybody coming in on the buy side with a chart that looks like that. If you want to throw in some stink bids at 50% levels, Collins pump chaser zone kind of idea, totally fine. And I hate to say it, if I wanted to buy Bitcoin, hold a gun to your head, where are you going to buy Bitcoin? You got to buy Bitcoins. Where are you going to buy? Where are you going to buy? Well, I'm a big fan of reload zones, which means that I could step in and maybe buy 20, 30,000 bucks. And Cotter, of course, over there on YouTube will attest to the fact that that's about the cost of production these days, eh, Cotter? Anyway. All right. So have yourselves a great day, PMA for the win. Enjoy the holiday weekend. And pop on over for the after party if you want to talk more shit coins and poop coins. In fact, actually, we haven't even looked at the Solana names. There's a couple of Solana names that look like they're about to pop here. So if you're looking for some fun entertainment through the weekend, you can always consider participating in that space. All right, everybody. All the best. Hugs and kisses. The only thing left for Brian to say is bye for now.